my first school, every desk had an inkwell, which of course nobody used. We were a ballpoint pen generation. But believe it or not, there was a debate about the negative effects that the ballpoint pen would have on the quality of handwriting. Today we debate whether we should even be teaching handwriting. But studies are also showing that kids who take notes by hand retain more than those who type it out on a computer. Now, some of the old ways are probably not coming back. No movement I know of to bring back typewriters or dip pens to the classroom, or for that matter, the 16mm film projector. But moving pictures early on were used for more than entertainment. This was a new way to teach. This is a 1915 company film on safety, and Thomas Edison believed his invention belonged in the classroom. And as Mary Leahy told us in this story, he wasn't the first or the last to predict that technology would revolutionize education.
Edison saw the motion picture as a means to open the schoolhouse door to the outside world.
Thomas Edison was an interesting kind of reformer. He owned his own film company, and what he thought about technology was that it would revolutionize all school learning and teaching. He believed that the textbook would disappear. In its place would be the film. He was very concerned about the efficiency and inefficiency, particularly the inefficiency of teaching and learning. And to him, the film was a panacea.
Now, audio-visual departments exist to bring events into the classroom, events that could be seen in no other way. Films bring in the glory of the past. Impossible to bring these things in without films. The wonders of science are brought right into our classroom. And the industry of the nation, right here, where we can look at it. Modern education for a modern world.
The greatest obstacle to teachers using films was accessibility. You had to buy a film projector. It was an expensive machine at that time. You had to have electricity in the school. A lot of schools didn't even have electricity.
The time may come when a portable radio receiver will be as common in the classroom as is the blackboard.
Reformers tuned in radio's potential to improve instruction as early as the 1920s, and by the 1940s, most large public school districts had their own radio stations.
Now, we invite you boys and girls to listen as your science lady brings you another Let's Find Out program.
Across the nation, thousands of school children would spend part of their day listening and learning with the Science Lady.
Hello, boys and girls. Are you ready to try some more experiments today?
Gertrude Hofstetter produced and hosted Let's Find Out.
Our helpers are going to show you how to fly a jet balloon. We're going to use air. Do you suppose air will help our jet balloon fly?
When television came in the early 1950s, that was the nail in the coffin that ended any hope of using radio, because this time you would have moving images plus sound, which meant that you wouldn't need radio.
Hi there, my name is Mrs. Mitchell, and I'm going to be with you in Language Corner all year long.
Today we're going to discuss a subject that you're very familiar with.
The hype of instructional television was that it would be far better than conventional forms of teaching, and that has not proved to be the case, but nor has the countercharge that it would be worse than traditional forms of teaching been proved either. So it's a wash.
Do you remember in our last lesson we worked with yarn, and we called it creative stitchery? I wonder if you had as much fun with that lesson as I had.
Television can stimulate and enhance a process.
The euphoria, the panacea kind of exhilaration that exists around instructional television existed also for radio and film, and currently for computers. It's all part of a similar kind of pattern. That euphoria is on the overpromising the high expectations for what this new technology can do to teaching and learning.
Television can even develop psychomotor skills.
It's not new. We've had other kinds of promising with other technologies elsewhere in our society. But with schools, the notion that you can replace teachers with instructional television, that you can teach thousands of children cheaply, was a seductive kind of expectation that simply drove reformers to great heights in making promises.
By February 1961, a flying television station will be circling high above an area northeast of the Purdue campus, transmitting educational TV programs to classrooms within a 200-mile radius.
Educational programs will be telecast from the plane to classrooms in 6 states with a potential audience of 6 million pupils.
It was really closer to 400,000 students eventually reached by this flying classroom, officially known as the Midwest Program of Airborne Television Instruction, or MPATI. The experiment was funded by the Ford Foundation and based at Purdue University. The idea was simple enough: to deliver programs to schools outside the reach of educational television stations. Carrying that out was more complex.
Videotapes of the lessons recorded at Purdue and other educational production centers across the country are sent to the MPATI tape library. Much later, the tapes will be played back and telecast from the transmitters inside the airplane while it flies at an altitude of 23,000 feet over Montpelier, Indiana.
The idea of a plane circling over the Midwest, which would beam programs into schools, was part of that kind of what I would call expectation that this new technology would revolutionize teaching and learning.
I don't know if it made a difference it was coming from an airplane. It was television. I think most of us actually enjoyed the days when teacher was in a good mood and we got to watch the game shows afterwards.
At its peak, MPATI broadcast to schools 5 hours a day, 4 days a week. As demand for instructional programs grew, so did the number of television stations in the region. By 1966, funding was cut. 2 years later, the planes were grounded.
Looking back on it now from this perspective, this was the early 60s, this was the space race, this was the whole thrust of improving American science education.
For Living St. Louis, I'm Jim Kirchherr.